but thank you for coming. I'm Wally Boston, CEO of American Public Education, Inc. We're a public company under NADSAQ, APEI, and as a public company, we're going to have a slide here, safe harbor statement, and I'm just going to breeze through this quickly. You should all read it, speed read it, and the important things are that anything I say that relates to the future, totally ignore unless it's in our 10K or our 10Q or any other public filings we have. Is that good enough, Chris? So moving on to the next slide. You know, APEI has been a public company. This is our 10th year. I think we'll celebrate the 10th anniversary of our IPO in November. But our predecessor organization, American Military University, has been around since 1991. We still stick with the mission where, you know, we prepare working adults for leadership and service. We think we've answered the call for affordability. In our mission, we've been very affordable. We didn't increase our undergraduate tuition for nearly 15 years. We try to provide books and supplies. We embrace our military heritage. And we're increasingly working with employers to leverage the bridge between education and the workforce. And with that, I want to show a little video.
This is who we are. The helpers. The healers, the innovators and team leaders, the defenders of our freedoms. Our students come to us as working adults to expand their knowledge, to improve their skills, to advance. Our faculty, made up of experts in their respective fields, is there to guide, to nurture, and to support them. The graduates of all of our institutions of higher learning are out there making a difference in the world, serving others, keeping communities safe, changing lives for the better. American public education, higher education that makes a difference.
Thank you. So just a little bit of background information about APEI. We operate two schools, American Public University System, which is regionally accredited through the Higher Learning Commission, totally online, at least so far, and has about 90,000 students worldwide. We have about 70,000 alums. The 5,000 alums here, I think, relate to Hondros, which is our other school. Hondros College of Nursing is based in Columbus, Ohio. Several years ago, strategically, we wanted to extend our reach from an online RN to BSN program to actually do licensure for the clinical functions and the appropriate degrees of practical nurse and registered nurse. So we purchased Hondros. You know, we've had a niche focus for years, focusing on the military and public service in the American Public University System, focusing on healthcare with Hondros. We stick to that. We think that you know, continuing to find our niche versus be a generalist is probably the best way to proceed, particularly in a much more competitive climate with more and more institutions going online. Our long-term strategy, we continue to try to fulfill a social mission. When we did our IPO 10 years ago, we said, don't expect us to increase tuition. And I think we've had exactly 2 tuition increases, 2 at the graduate level and 1 at the undergraduate level. But as you'll see in a second, we're still passionate about that affordability. We're passionate about that mission. And we don't go into our annual planning thinking that there's a tuition increase in the budget. May be different, but that's what we do. We have strong cash flow. You'll see that. We have a debt-free balance sheet, and we think that gives us additional flexibility, particularly in an environment like today where you can see companies that are showing here to increase shareholder value. A little bit about the history. As I mentioned before, we were founded as American Military University back in 1991. In 2002, we became American Public University System, and American Military University was one of the schools that we operate under American Public University System. We added American Public University because not everyone wanted to have a degree or diploma with American Military University on it. In 2006, we earned, we didn't purchase, but we earned our regional accreditation with the Higher Learning Commission. In 2009, we became the first for-profit to receive the Sloan Consortium's Montgomery Award for Quality Online Education. You can only get it once, so while we haven't received that award again, we've actually received 5 effective practice awards from the Sloan Consortium, which is now the Online Learning Consortium, and we have received more effective practice awards from the OLC than any other institution, for-profit or nonprofit. In 2010, we were selected by Walmart to be their exclusive online provider. We've done a lot of innovative work with them in reviewing their corporate training at all levels and mapped it position by position for relevancy to transfer into 2 degrees, either a retail management degree at the undergraduate level or a transportation and logistics degree at the undergraduate level. We continue to work with them. In 2013, we launched our Hondros College purchase, so we've had that for a few years, and we are finally, we expanded a location this year, added Toledo, and we continue to believe that that's a good area to go in the future with the demand in nursing. And this past year, or the current year that we're in, we launched a competency-based product called Momentum. Momentum is true competency, it's not credit hour based, so in our launch, which was approved by the Higher Learning Commission, we do not have Title IV. We imagine that it will take a while, so no expectation of high revenues on that, but we figured that doing competency the right way and not linking it to the credit hour is important. Our business today, our enrollments by degree level, we do associate's degrees, we do bachelor degrees, that's the largest component, and master's degrees. We have it in our planning to do doctoral degrees, and I think when you look at adult education, the importance of lifelong learning, the importance of added education, that'll come eventually. We have enrollments by school. You can probably see that better than I can, so I'm not going to try to break it out specifically, but we have some niche programs. For example, we had the first Homeland Security program, which was approved by our accreditor in July of 2001, approximately 3 months before 9/11. And at one point in time, I think approximately half of the heads of state Homeland Security agencies were AMU graduates. So we have some niche programs, we have some traditional programs. Because we operate very efficiently and effectively on an online basis, we have liberal arts degrees. My favorite story is about a truck driver who wrote us and said that he hauls from coast to coast, and so whenever he's in a rest stop, because you can only drive 10 hours a day, he's working on earning his bachelor's degree in philosophy through us. Somehow I don't associate a bachelor's degree in philosophy with a long-haul truck driver, but he was very fascinated, very enthused about it, and said, "You've got some great faculty members, and I enjoy conversing with them at a distance." Anyway, we also our funding source. So a majority of our funding comes from tuition assistance, and just beneath tuition assistance, that's the military, active duty military funding program, is federal student aid, and but unlike a lot of for-profits that may have that number in the 80s, hopefully they're not in the 90s, our number's in the 30s. And then we have VA, or the veteran funding, and then with about 15% of our enrollments pay in cash. Hondros School of Nursing, right now they have 3 programs. They have a PN program, they have an ADN program, which is the RN program, and they have an RN to BSN program. And about 60% of their students are in the PN program, and about 40% are in the RN program. I think, looking at our framework, I think we've built an engine and an institution that's poised for success now and in the future. As I said before, we're very passionate about affordability, and the only way you get around and have no tuition increases for 14 years is you learn how to manage your cost effectively, you learn how to scale, you build systems to automate things. So we've also built that so that we don't force people. We know the needs of adults in education, that they want to take a course when it's the right time to take a course, and so they can take a course at a time if they want. We don't try to load them up with a lot of courses that make life difficult in trying to complete those programs and get the grades that they want to get a promotion at work or go on to the next position. So we're very efficient. We do 12 starts a year, and in those 12 starts, that's the first Monday of every month. You can do a traditional format of 16 weeks, or you can do an accelerated program of 8 weeks. And probably at this point in time, I think about 80% of our students do the accelerated program at the undergraduate level. There are some programs where we offer very few 8-week courses. We have an online Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering. Those engineering classes, as well as the high-level math classes, are pretty tough to do in 8-week formats. But we continue to dedicate ourselves to academic quality. On the marketing side, we don't have a huge call center. We don't go out and buy leads from outside companies, so hopefully no one sitting in here that wants to approach me with a business card to do that afterwards. That's just not our thing. We generate them internally, but we are always looking for ways to increase the number of referrals we have, because referrals keep marketing costs low. Keeping our marketing costs low mean that we can continue to keep our tuition low. In Hondros this past year, we changed our curriculum. We made our curriculum align much more with the new style tests that are offered for NCLEX. And so that gave us a little hiccup in enrollment, but we did it the right way. We didn't try to enroll large numbers of new students while we were tinkering with the curriculum. And now that we're in 2016, we're seeing an uptick again in their enrollment. And as I mentioned before, Hondros is campus-based, so we have 5 locations in the state of Ohio. For those of you that operate in states, it's nice to operate in a single state and understand those regulations, but eventually we hope to open locations outside of Ohio, and we'll just simply have to deal with the regulations in those states as we approach them. I talked about our affordability. These charts here give you a little bit of comparison. So by holding our undergraduate tuition flat for 14 to 15 years, when we started at the last time we had a hike in 2001, we were actually above the in-state public tuition average. Now, at least the current data that we have is that we're approximately 21% below the in-state average for public institutions here in the U.S. At the graduate level, we are even much less than the state average. Our tuition is about 40% less than the in-state average. You know, we've been recognized by the Online Learning Consortium, as I mentioned earlier. Our business programs and our undergraduate programs have been recognized by U.S. News and World Report. And we are proud of the fact that a number of our graduates have been appointed as Presidential Management Fellows, which is an honor inside of the government. A lot of them are veterans working in those roles. And we have had a few White House Fellows during our time as an institution. 91% of our seniors, we surveyed them as they're graduated, say they would do it all over again. And 95% of our alums who we survey annually say that they were completely satisfied and they would do it all over again or refer someone to attend our institution. Looking at our offerings, we have over 200 degrees that we offer at APUS. Once you set them up, it's pretty easy to continue to set them up. So as I mentioned, at APUS, we have associates, bachelor's, and master's programs. At some point in the future, can't predict when. That's always up to the academics and the accrediting body, but I expect that we'll have doctoral programs, and we'll have a full continuum. We are currently working on micro-credentials and mini certificates and partnering with some of our employers. So far, most of those partnerships have involved credit-bearing courses and certificates, but you know, I think at some point we'll go down into the micro-credentials. I mentioned momentum, strategic relationships. Our average class size is 19. We cap class sizes at 25 in general, although calculus classes, we typically cap somewhere between 16 and 18. It's just easier for the teacher and the student to have engagement in topics, scientific topics like math, if there's a smaller class size. We have over 2,000 members, and substantially located here in the U.S. Back in the days when we didn't have SARA, which is the agreement to license schools across the country, the reciprocal agreement, we had to be licensed in all 50 states because we have faculty members in all 50 states, or at least we had to try to be licensed in all 50 states. Some states gave us a letter saying you're waived, and we don't really want to talk about it because you're online. But we have a lot of experts in their field, so in some of our programs like Homeland Security or Strategic Intelligence, which is spying, I like to say we educate more spies than anyone in the world. A very large program. I don't know that any of you have that program. I think we identified that there's probably about 6 programs like that here in the U.S., but we have the largest enrollments. We have a space studies program where we have folks in the military that aspire to be astronauts go through that program. We have former astronauts teaching in it, so we try to pick the right person. Two of our longest serving faculty members live in Tel Aviv, and they teach in our counterterrorism program. So we have a niche, we serve that niche, and we're proud of doing that. In Hondros, we have about over 30 relationships with hospital systems and health entities in the state of Ohio, and they allow us to do our placements for our clinicals as well as hire our graduates. I think when we look at the market, there's an ongoing increase in demand for credentials. So as I mentioned, whether it's a degree or whether it's certificates or whether it's many credentials in the future or some credential that hasn't even been offered yet, we're working on it, and we see an increasing need to work with employers, as well as because of our affordabilities, employers reach out to us. The environment's changing. I think just this conference is evidence. I haven't missed a conference since the first one, and I have to tell you that I'm amazed at some of the innovative ideas that companies are coming out with each year. So if this is your first year at the conference, I would say please attend next year and look at it from the perspective of what's changing. But on the employer side, everybody talks about the global shortage in qualified employees. I think part of that's related to education, but also part of it's just simply related to a talent shortage. So while we have the capabilities and continue to expand on the educational needs, I think at some point in the future, some of that will be blended into training and education, and we'll see where that goes. The regulatory climate, all I can say is I'm glad that from a regulatory perspective, we have a new administration, and I won't comment about the rest of that. But certainly there's a widespread need of a recognition for workforce and educator alignment, and I think we're much more positioned because of our for-profit status to be responsive to that. Some of the things, some of the projects, if you look at this little matrix here in our core business, improving persistence, that's probably been an ongoing project at least for the last half a dozen years. And when we report our earnings and on a quarterly basis, we talk about our improvement in persistence. It continues to go up even though we've been working on it a while. And the reason it continues to go up, we continue to find ways to make life a little better for working adults so they can continue to study with us and continue to stay enrolled in school. There are supposedly, according to the literature, when the economy really, really gets good, some of the people drop out, but we haven't seen that happen. We continue to see improvements in our persistence, and we'll continue to work on it as long as we can continue to see improvements. Unlike a number of other schools in our sector, we publish. You could probably do a Google search and find 25 to 30 papers on online student persistence that our academics and actually including myself have co-authored, and we think it's pretty important to put that research out there because collectively we get better rather than being insular and doing it by ourselves. Stabilizing enrollment's one of our big priorities for APUS. We've had some hiccups with federal funding and military tuition assistance. We hope that doesn't happen again. The good news is that Congress reauthorized the budget through September 30th of this year. We continue to look at opportunities in nursing and healthcare. and we are really focused on workforce and ed to employment. We talked about that a little bit in our both our 10K and our last earnings release, and I think you can expect to hear more about it in the future. We have approximately $146 million in cash, and as I mentioned, no debt. So we're going to continue to look at growth areas where we might expand sooner through an acquisition, as well as organic growth. I think I've talked about student persistence. It's up 19% as of December 2016, year over year, in our first course completion rate for undergrad students. We've brought our bad debt expense down. We had some people who were taking advantage of our low tuition and the fact that we were online and open enrollment. We've changed a lot of things, and that's come down significantly from over 6% to 2.1%. Stabilizing the enrollment, we brought on a COO with substantial enrollment management experience. He's re-examining our processes. I think we generate enough qualified leads. It's just we want to get to those students sooner before our competitors get to them. We continue to expand programs that align to the workforce. We continue to focus on workforce skill gaps. We added a chief innovation officer. We launched our Momentum program. We're looking at continuing to expand the corporate and strategic relationships. Nursing side, I mentioned Hondros. We're going to continue to expand Hondros. We'll continue to expand APUS, but on the online side, the degrees we can offer online. We just got approval for a Master of Science in Nursing at APUS, and we intend to, we believe that that'll expand, particularly with the need for teachers with an MSN to teach the RN students. These are some of our 100+ corporate relationships that we're serving over 300 employers. And I think that, oops, did I go backwards? If you look at our revenue over the past few years, we have come down a little bit. Part of that is changing our enrollment policies from purely open enrollment to being much more strategic and making sure that students who enroll are able to complete. The cash that we generate, we have very healthy cash flow generated in the assets that we build that are unencumbered by debt. And we like to say that we're empowering the doers to do. So we're looking for meeting strong and growing market in key areas like healthcare. We continue to re-engineer our enrollment processes, building a brand, targeting new programs for investment, and working on the workforce to program degrees. And at the end, we think we change lives through education, and with 75,000 alums, we've got the evidence to support that. So I have a little bit of time for any questions. Yes?
You mentioned a new CIO, a Chief Innovation Officer. What are some of the, I know you don't want to get too forward-looking, but what are some of the innovations that you're looking at beyond sort of shoring up the existing business? What might the future hold?
Well, she's sitting here, so you could talk to her, Amy Bevilacqua, who's in the front row. We could spend more than my 1 minute that's left talking about that, but I'm excited about bridging the gap between education and the workforce. So there's a bunch of companies that are here that are doing that, and we're excited about that as well. Yes?
What are you finding is working with employers? I know that the Walmart relationship, you've been early and built that up. What are you finding is working in terms of driving enrollments and driving value for employers?
I'll have to answer really quick if they absolutely shut me off it. But I think is our willingness to customize education. So we just announced a deal with the TSA. We were part of a pilot, and then they reduced the pilot from 25 or 30 institutions to 2. And as part of that program, we built a special certificate for their employees. It's 4 or 5 courses. I can't remember the exact number of courses. And so we had 3 of the 5 courses because we have these niche programs like Homeland Security, but we had to build 2 others custom. they're 4 credits, so once they complete them with us, they can build them and come into a degree, or they can transfer those credits and go somewhere else. So we have the flexibility to do that and to customize it and meet their needs. And we did a lot of that with Walmart, and now we're doing it with others. Great. I think my time's up, so thank you very much.